My Father knows about us now, but I don't care about the kingdom anymore. He looked me in the eyes this morning, not as a father, but as a king betrayed. His voice was cold, heavy, laced with fury that no sword could match. He told me I'd shamed our bloodline, that I'd let my heart contaminate the honor of our house. He said your name like it was a curse. And I stood there silent because I knew that defending you would only feed his rage. But inside me, there was no shame, only defiance. Only this fire that refuses to die, no matter how hard they try to drown it. I wanted to scream that I don't care about their laws, their titles, their fragile idea of purity. I care about you, the one truth in a world full of lies and polished masks. He threatened to strip me of my birthright, to name my brother heir if I didn't end this madness. I told him to do it. His hand trembled, not from age, but disbelief. No one has ever defied him. But he doesn't understand what it means to lose everything except love. He has never felt what it's like to crave someone's presence more than the air he breathes. I told him he could have the throne, the gold, the lineage, all of it, because none of it feels like mine anymore. What is a kingdom worth if it doesn't have peace? What is a crown worth if it keeps me chained away from only person who ever made me feel alive? He called you the ruin of my discipline. I almost smiled at that because he's right. You did ruin it beautifully, completely. You dismantled everything they built inside me. All those lessons about restraint, about silence, about loyalty to blood before emotion. You tore through them with a single touch, a single word. You taught me how to feel when they taught me how to obey. And now even in my rebellion, I'm not ashamed. You've become my truth, and I would rather live in exile with that truth than on a throne built on denial. I know what people whisper, that love has made me weak, but they don't see what I see when I think of you. They don't understand that the strength it takes to defy an empire is born only from love. I can feel the storm brewing around me. The guards watch me differently now. My advisors speak in coded words, as if betrayal might spill from my mouth at any moment. The palace is no longer a home. It's a cage dressed in gold. Every corridor hums with the sound of judgment. Every gaze feels like a blade. And yet I walk through it without fear, because my heart no longer belongs here. It belongs where you are, far from this poisoned elegance, far from the throne's cold grip. They can strip me of my title, but they can't strip me of the choice I've made. I'd rather be nothing in your world than everything in theirs. Sometimes I think about what would happen if I left, truly left. If I walked out of those palace gates and never looked back. I imagine the chaos, the shock, the disgrace, and still none of it terrifies me. What terrifies me is the thought of living without you. I've tasted what it feels like to be yours, and now every day without you feels like breathing ash. The kingdom may crumble, the crown may fall. Let it, because for the first time in my life, I found something that feels real. Something no decree, no war, no bloodline can take away. You once told me that love like ours would never survive inside a world like mine. You were right. It can't. That's why I'm done pretending to belong to it. I'm done choosing duty over my heart. My father can curse my name. The people can turn their backs. But I won't return to the hollow life I had before you. They can call it betrayal. They can call it madness, but to me, it's freedom. And if loving you means standing against everything I was born to protect, then let history write me as a fallen prince, because for you, I'll gladly fall. The corridors were silent when I left, yet I could feel the kingdom breathing behind me. Restless, suspicious, alive. Every step echoed like a secret I wasn't supposed to keep. The moonlight spilled through the arches, and for a moment I thought of how many times I'd walked these halls as a child, proud to belong to this palace, blind to the cost of its perfection. But tonight the air felt different, heavy, final. The guards bowed as I passed, unaware that they were bowing to a prince who was no longer theirs. I carried nothing but a cloak and the memory of your voice. Everything else, the power, the honor, the legacy, I left behind with my crown on the table. As I crossed the courtyard, the marble beneath my boots gleamed like glass. The statues of my ancestors stood tall and cold, their stone eyes judging me. They'd built this empire with blood and obedience, and here I was tearing it down with love. But I didn't look away. Let them watch. Let them see what happens when a heart born in captivity decides to breathe. My horse waited near the gates, restless, as if it knew the weight of what I was about to do. I mounted without hesitation. The wind was sharp, cutting through the silence, and in that moment I realized I wasn't escaping. I was returning to the only truth that ever belonged to me, you. The ride was long, the night endless, the world blurred around me, forests, rivers, distant fires. The kingdom stretched out like a painting I was riding away from, its beauty meaningless now. My father's words still echoed in my head, venom wrapped in authority. You'll destroy everything we've built, he had said. Maybe I would. Maybe that's what needed to happen, because what they built was not a kingdom. It was a cage, a place where love was weakness and obedience was sacred. I had believed in that once until I met you. You showed me what freedom looked like, not in rebellion but in simplicity. A touch, a laugh, a heartbeat that didn't ask for titles. The farther I went, the more the fear began to fade. It was replaced by something deeper, clarity. I didn't care what awaited me. Whether it was exile or death, I would face it with your name on my lips. You told me once that I couldn't live between two worlds, that I'd have to choose. I thought I could balance them. I was wrong. No one can serve both love and the throne. One demands your soul, the other takes your heart, and mine has already been claimed. So I chose the world where I'm not a prince, not a savior, not an heir, just a man who finally knows who he loves and why. By dawn the palace was far behind me. The horizon bled with the first light, painting everything gold and crimson, the color of endings and beginnings. I stopped on a hill overlooking the valley, breathing hard, my chest aching from more than the ride. The wind was cold, but it tasted like freedom. I thought of my father waking soon, realizing his throne was empty, his son gone. I wondered if he'd understand that I didn't leave out of rebellion, but out of truth. Maybe one day he'll see that love isn't the enemy of power. It's what gives it meaning. But by then, it won't matter. Because by then, I'll be where I was always meant to be. By your side, I could see the village in the distance, small, quiet, hidden between the trees. I remembered your words from the last time we spoke. How you said peace doesn't come from walls but from silence. I never understood that until now. Every part of me that was built to command, to rule, to conquer, it all feels useless here. All I want is to knock on your door and see your face when you realize I kept my promise, that I meant every word when I said I would choose you, even if it meant losing everything else. Because losing a kingdom isn't lost when love is what you gain. And as I rode down the slope closer to where I knew you waited, I could feel something inside me shift. The last piece of the prince dying quietly, the man finally taking his place. The palace may hunt me, my father may curse my name, but I will not turn back. The throne will find another heir, but no one will ever love you the way I do, with madness, with devotion, with ruin. And if this love is the end of me, then let it be a beautiful ending. Because after everything I've seen, everything I've lost, I finally understand what they could never teach me. A man's kingdom is nothing without the one heart that beats for him in return. The village was still asleep when I arrived. Mist curled over the rooftops like a soft ghost, the smell of damp earth rising from the fields. I dismounted quietly, the sound of the horse's breath mingling with the hush of dawn. Every step toward your door felt heavier than the last, not from fear, but from the weight of everything I had left behind. I had abandoned a crown, a lineage, a destiny carved for me before I even had a name. And yet, standing there, with the world stripped bare, I felt more royal than ever, because for the first time, I was about to claim something not given by blood or title, something I had chosen with my own heart, you. Your door was closed, but light flickered faintly inside, a small candle fighting the morning gloom. I hesitated, fingers hovering above the wood, listening. The silence was fragile, as if the universe itself held its breath. I could almost hear your heartbeat beyond that door. Steady, familiar, haunting. My throat tightened. For months I had spoken to you in shadows, in stolen letters and whispered promises. But now, the distance between us was just a single heartbeat and a thin wooden barrier. I could have knocked, I could have called your name, but I didn't. I just stood there, memorizing the moment before everything changed forever. Behind me, the world I'd fled was beginning to stir. I could almost feel the rumble of horses in the distance, the search already beginning. My father's men wouldn't rest until they dragged me back, crown and chains waiting. But I couldn't turn back. I'd rather be hunted for love than worshipped in loneliness. The palace could keep its gold, its lies, its loyalty bought with fear. I no longer belonged there. My allegiance was here, to you, to the peace your presence gave me. Even if the world called it treason, even if it ended with both of us burning, I'd still call it freedom. I pressed my forehead against your door and whispered your name just once quietly, as though afraid the morning might steal it away. I thought of your laughter, the way your eyes softened when you said my name. Those memories had been my only light through endless nights of duty and deceit. I had worn your memory like armor in the palace, a silent rebellion no one could strip from me. Every time I bowed to my father, I was bowing to a lie. Every time I smiled at the council, I was dreaming of you. You became my truth in a world built on falsehood. The candle inside flickered, shadows moving, a sign that you were awake. My pulse quickened. I wanted to see you, to tell you everything, to let you see the madness you'd made of me. But how could I explain what I'd done? How could I tell you that I traded a kingdom for your touch, a dynasty for your silence? You'd once told me love isn't about sacrifice, it's about peace, yet here I was, drenched in both. I didn't know if you'd forgive me for bringing danger to your door. I didn't know if you'd take my hand or close it in my face, but I was ready for both. A soft creak, the door opened slightly, and your eyes met mine. No crown, no throne, no audience, just you and me, two souls stripped of everything but the truth. The world disappeared. My heart forgot how to beat. You didn't speak, and neither did I. We didn't need to. My silence carried every word I couldn't say. That I'd burned my world for you, that I would do it again without regret. The wind shifted, carrying the sound of distant horns. The search was getting closer, but I didn't move. I couldn't. For the first time, I wasn't the prince running from duty. I was the man who had finally found his reason to stay. Then you stepped aside wordlessly, and I understood. The choice I'd made wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The air inside your home smelled of warmth, of something real. As I crossed the threshold, I felt the weight of the palace fade behind me. The silence wrapped around us like a promise, fragile, dangerous, sacred. And even though I knew the storm was coming, I no longer cared. Let the kingdom fall. Let them come. For once, I had something worth fighting for. And if they called it betrayal, then I would betray the world 1,000 times over to hold you again. The morning light slipped through the cracks of the window, painting golden streaks across your face. As you stood by the fire, I watched in silence, memorizing the way your hair caught the light, the way peace seemed to find you even in the middle of chaos. For a moment, I forgot everything. The kingdom, the pursuit, the weight of what I'd done. You turned toward me, your eyes carrying that same quiet storm that had drawn me in from the beginning. You didn't ask how I'd gotten there or what I had left behind. You already knew. You always knew. That was the danger of you. You saw through everything I pretended to be. I took a step closer, and the air between us thickened. I wanted to speak, to explain, to promise you safety, but the words refused to form. What could I possibly say? That I'd abandoned centuries of royal blood for a single night with you. That my father's crown was now a curse I could never reclaim. You reached for my hand, hesitant yet steady, and when your fingers touched mine, I realized how long I'd been starved of gentleness. The palace taught me that affection was weakness, that love made men foolish. But standing before you, I finally understood. Love didn't make me weak, it made me real. It stripped away the lies, the armor, the name. You asked if I was afraid. I didn't answer immediately. Afraid? Of course, not of the kingdom or of death. I'd faced both before. What terrified me was the possibility of losing you even after giving up everything. The thought that you might look at me one day and see not the man you loved, but the ruin he brought to your door. But when you smiled faintly, as if to silence my fear, I knew it didn't matter. I wasn't here to be forgiven or worshipped. I was here to be seen as I truly was, flawed, reckless, and hopelessly yours. Outside, the sound of horses echoed faintly across the valley. My instincts flared, the prince in me awakening, the one trained to sense danger long before it arrived. I moved to the window, heart pounding, eyes searching the horizon. Dust clouds, distant but approaching. My father's men were already closer than I'd hoped. I should have been strategizing, planning escape routes, securing the perimeter. But when I looked back at you, standing there so calm, it was as if time refused to move forward. I wanted to freeze this moment. The last fragment of peace before the storm broke over us. You walked to me, your voice soft but firm, saying I could still go back, that it wasn't too late to save myself. Those words cut deeper than any sword could. Go back to what? To a throne I no longer believed in, to a father whose love was conditional on obedience. No, I had already crossed the point of no return. There was nothing left to save, not for me. I told you that. I told you I didn't care if the kingdom turned to ash, as long as you were safe. You shook your head, tears catching the light, and whispered that safety meant nothing without freedom. And in that moment, I realized you were braver than any royal ever born. The sound of hooves grew louder. The earth trembled under their march. You looked at me, eyes full of questions you didn't need to ask. I nodded once, silently, a promise passing between us. If they came for me, I would not let them take you. The palace could have my name, my title, my blood, but not you. Never you. I took your hand again, pressed it to my chest, letting you feel the madness you'd awakened in me. Every beat of my heart was a declaration that no power, no kingdom, no God could make me surrender you. As the first shadows of armored riders appeared at the edge of the woods, I stepped away from the window and looked at you one last time, not as a prince, not as a fugitive, but as a man who had finally found something worth dying for. You whispered my name, and I smiled, a real smile, the kind the palace never saw. The world outside was ready to burn, but inside that small room, everything was still, and for a single heartbeat, before fate could reach its hand toward us, I knew what peace truly was. It wasn't silence, it wasn't safety, it was standing beside you and choosing you again, even as the world collapsed.